I'm okay.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Well, we are live, but of course we know that these are conversations that may start anyhow, they may end anyhow, but basically, wherever you're watching us from, wherever you're listening us from, you're most welcome to this conversation, where we shall be discussing the right to freedom of expression. In particular, we are discussing the role of the freedom of expression in social accountability, or simply access to information. You know that for many years now in the country, we've been talking about the need to enact the access to information bill into law. We understand that some of us were only 2, 3 years old. Some of you were not yet born when this particular talk around the access to information started. But of course, as of now, we understand that progress is being made, but except that some few sections of society feel, if not many at the moment, feel that this access to information bill has been delayed. So we want to find out now the role that access to information would play, or the relationship between access to information and social accountability. From onset, allow me to acknowledge that this broadcast is brought to you by the Ask ATI Initiative under USAID Open Spaces Zambia project. The USAID Open Zambia Spaces project is funded by USAID and implemented by Internews in partnership with FHI 360. And so this evening, in case it is morning in your country, in Zambia, it is evening 20:07 is the time. We shall be discussing once again, without being repetitive, the role of freedom of expression in social accountability. I have very able gentlemen to help me discuss this conversation, both of them coming from civil society. Allow me to welcome Mr. Ronnie Jere. He is the president of Zambians for Unity, Peace and Development. Thank you so much, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you, my brother, Gabriel?
Not so bad. Code, Lusaka is code.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming through, Mr. Jere. Then I have Executive Director at Development 360, Mr. Christopher Lubasi. Thank you so much, Mr. Lubasi, as well. Welcome. How are you?
Hey, Gabriel. Since you said you need this to be a bit informal but informative, I would rather you just refer to me as Christy to lighten the burden. Glad to be here. How are you?
Great, man. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Delighted to be here. Hi, Ronnie. Hi, Chanda. Evening.
Hi, Chris. Been long. How are you?
Very good. Very well. Thank you.
All right. And I also have my co-presenter who is on standby, Chanda Chongwe. Always plays a very important role. He's also, technician on the day in case of anything. So I think at this particular moment, we can just open our videos if we can, so that people can see us if we can, so that people can attach the face and the voice to this conversation.
I'm
Gentlemen
hoping
and
my
ladies,
connectivity.
okay. Those that are viewing us, please,
Hold.
you're free to drop in your comments wherever you are watching us from. We are streaming on different platforms: the Alliance for Community Action Facebook page, YouTube, and Twitter. We are also live on Michael Zulu, Comrade Michael Zulu's Facebook page, but the username is Michael Zulu. We're also live on Chanda Medbit on the Facebook platform. We're live on Kuni Village. In case you're watching us on these platforms, please, you're free to drop your comments. Tell us, please, how are you accessing information on different social services in your community? Are you able to easily access information in different social services in your community? Please feel free to drop your comments. As we start the conversation, gentlemen, allow me to invite you, Mr. Lubasi. Chris, just pardon me. I think I'll constantly refer you to as Mr. Lubasi. What is your understanding of access to information?
So, Gabriel, for me, access to information is a right. It's one of the fundamental rights that encompasses, for me, two critical aspects. Okay, I would say in a layman's term, it's an entitlement that one has by virtue of being human. So a right is an entitlement that one has by virtue of being born, living on this planet, of course. So it means by you being a citizen of this global village, this global family, you have certain entitlements, and one of them is actually access to information. So to put it in a broader context, access to information itself encompasses two critical aspects. The first one being the positive obligation of public bodies to provide, publish, disseminate information about their activities, budgets, and policies. That's one aspect of the access to information, right? And then the second aspect of it has to speak to ensuring that all persons are able to ask officials for information about what these particular officials are doing, especially in state functions. In some contexts, it may extend to some private bodies. But for this particular discussion, I think I'll limit my conversation to state or public bodies. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's my understanding about access to information in relation to fundamental human rights.
Thanks so much, Mr. Lubasi. Let's hear the submission of ZUPED, Mr. Jere. Your organization also falls so appropriately in this conversation of access to information, and also maybe in particular we single out the right to freedom of expression, which is one and the same thing anyway. Just highlight to us your understanding of access to information.
I think Mr. Lubasi adequately explained it. I think what he said is just to write on what he said, the issue of seeking, which means you are supposed to demand, but also public officials or public bodies are supposed to provide, okay, information pertaining to social services. And, you know, the rights, like Mr. Lubasi has mentioned, you know, empowers citizens to obtain information held by public bodies. So if, as a person, I've got that information, it empowers me to act, to decide, and also to be able to, you know, participate effectively. There is no citizen that can participate effectively without having correct information. And that is why it is the obligation, like Mr. Lubasi has said, of public bodies to provide information to citizenry so that they are able to make decisions, informed decisions that can make them, you know, or make our communities develop. Because without having informed decisions, making informed decisions, it's difficult to develop as a community. So my understanding of access to information is that of, you know, it can be defined as the right to seek, receive, but also to impart information held by public bodies, in short.
Thank you so much, Comrade Jere. Once again, gentlemen and ladies, wherever you're watching us from, wherever you're listening to from this conversation, please, you're most welcome. You're free to drop in your comment, your contribution, or just anything you know about access to information. Please let us know how easy or difficult it is for you to access information on a particular item, on a particular service in your area. It could be from the local authority, that is the council. I was tempted to say the Livingston City Council. but respective councils in your particular districts, in your particular towns, please let us know how easy or difficult it is. Now let us relate before we go to the relationship between social accountability and access to information in depth. Mr. Lubasi, could you kindly highlight to us also? We understand that the country so far is operating, or the day-to-day runnings of the country are ongoing without access to information. How easy or difficult it is? Let me ask you the same question that I'm asking to people to access information at the moment.
I would say at present where we stand as a country, I mean, I would say the attitude of secrecy or the secrecy tendencies, especially in government institutions or public institutions, is very high. I mean, the notion a number of public servants or civil servants have to providing information seems to not be clear. I mean, a lot of people who are working in the public service do not realize that by virtue of being in public service, they are obligated to provide, avail information as much as they can. But then, speak of the Constituents Development Fund information, it is very disheartening to actually realize that a number of people are not even informed to be able to benefit from that fund. Just a couple of days ago, I was sitting in some community meetings where people expressed their disappointment with regards how they were treated in some of these public offices where they went to seek information around CDF. So it appears that there is a particular group of people who are privy to this information while the majority are not. So in a nutshell, information is not very easy to come by across so many sectors in government departments. It's very difficult to actually access information, that I should say.
Thanks so much. Mr. Jere, a similar question, but probably the difference is that what are the disadvantages of the lack of access to information? Given the example that Mr. Lubasi has cited, the Constituency Development Fund, people seem not to have information in the words of Mr. Lubasi. What then are the dangers that lie in such a scenario in any community or any setting?
Okay. First of all, I'd love to say that information is an important aspect of the economic and political development of any country. So it is very important that as we develop, we have access to information. And so what are the the disadvantages of lack of access to information? I think there are a lot, because a society that does not have access to information is very, I would say is not informed, like I mentioned earlier on, meaning that even when somebody is not informed, it is easier, okay, for any person to take advantage of them. For example, there will be an increase in terms of corruption, okay, because people are not told on how certain things are done. People that are informed will take advantage of them and abuse them. So inequalities also come into place. There are those that are knowledgeable that take advantage of those that do not know. So meaning that communities do not grow at the
Mr. Jere, you are not clear anymore, but please, if you're able to get me, you can kindly carry on.
So I just realized I was muted. Can you hear me now?
Yes, please. You can go ahead.
Okay. So did you hear the other part I was talking about?
Yes, please. Just carry on from where you stopped.
Okay. So when people are not aware, they are disenfranchised. Two, there's some inequalities, okay, in the way resources are shared, because only those that have information are able to take advantage of what is available, resources that are available. And the other thing that I must say is that the poor become more poorer, the richer become richer, and that is not what is supposed to be. So basically, I think lack of access to information, I think the burning negative issue is that it promotes inequality in a society.
All right. Does ZUPED also share a similar view of Development 360, that currently in the Constituency Development Fund, there seems to be no or limited information, that reaches the potential beneficiary? Do you also share the similar view as that of Development 360?
I do, to some extent, yes, because we've heard of, I think it's also how information is packaged. Information can be available, but is it accessible? Availability and accessibility, they're two different things. So we may have information that is available in English, for example, but as that information be translated into local language that other people can be able to, read, or is it available for the disabled, for example, those or the blind? Is it available in Braille? So accessibility is also an important aspect. So yes, to some extent, others are saying no. There's the information on CDF is there on the website. The local government website, you can get that and the like. But how many people have got access to smartphones and the like? So to some extent, yes. What is important is to have information accessible. Where in our communities do we have hotspots where people can go and access information on CDF? Do people know where to access that information on CDF? So to some extent, yes, I agree with him in the sense that I think government has not done enough to provide the citizenry of where to get the information on CDF.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jere. Gentlemen, ladies, in case you've just joined this live stream, we are discussing the right to freedom of expression, and in particular, we want to understand the relationship between this particular right to social accountability. This is the first episode that is being brought to you, but we are yet to have several others. So the first episode out of the 6, please give us your contribution. What do you think? How easy is it for you to access information currently? It could be in any particular thing that you want to find out. And also let us know, on why you think the access to information law is needed in the country. Please give us your submission in the comments below, whichever platform you're using to watch us. Mr. Lubasi, how soon do you think the country needs the access to information law?
We need it like yesterday. It's long overdue. I mean, there's these conversations that have been going on to say for the past 22 years, there have been conversations between government, civil society, and other stakeholders to have the law enacted. But the issue of probably misapplication or misunderstanding of what exactly the right to access to information has brought about delays in its enactment. Another issue has been, I think, the issue of political interests. Some sectors in our political systems tend to feel allowing for the enactment of access to information would disadvantage them. But like Mr. Jere was saying, I mean, we need to learn to look at both sides of the coin. Issues of corruption can only be fought if information is availed and is easily accessible to the public. I mean, if we put in a claim to have the law enacted, it means that accountability on the government side, on the public sector side, will be triggered because everyone will be aware of what they are obligated to provide, the nature of services they are obligated to provide. But without this law, we have this laissez-faire kind of attitude that is existing across many government sectors. And for any individual like myself or any other citizen, common citizen, for lack of a better term to use, you do not have firm ground or legal ground to go and claim for such information to be available to you. Any information, for example, the CDF process itself. I've not heard so far, correct me if you may have that information, I've not heard any public officer, government officer or public officer who's gone back to the community or met a group of CDF aspirants who failed to qualify for a grant, who've been explained to why their particular application didn't go through. There is no such support that is rendered to members of the public. I mean, there's not been any orientation on how the form is to be filled. In as much as the form is available online, is available in some councils, the technical language in there is too much for some of our citizens in these communities. Much as would translate it, but as long as they do not understand what it actually entails to complete some of these documents and what the committees are looking for, it will be hard for citizens to enjoy that particular right to have access to those funds. So I feel there's still a lot more that we need to do as a government, as a country, as a people. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done.
Thanks so much, Mr. Lubasi. Mr. Jere, your submission on how soon do you think we need this access to information bill enacted into law? And also, do you feel as civil society organizations, this then lack of access to information law infringes on how you, for example, sort of do your activities as civil society organizations?
Of course it does. I'll just give you a background to the Access to Information Bill. You might be aware that in 2002, the Access to Information Bill was withdrawn from Parliament. Then PF used that as a campaign tool for them to win them elections in 2011. So 2011, PF won elections. In 2012, people had some hope that the Access to Information Bill will be enacted, because now government led by PF, established a task force on access to information with the sole purpose of redrafting the bill, and we had a lot of hope, thinking that now we have a government that is, has shown political will to enact this bill. But it's now 2023. From 2012, 2023, there's a lot that has been talked about. In 2020, 2021, UPND government came into for, and it's the same story. Each political leader that wants to win will dangle that as a carrot to say, no, when we come into power, we will enact. But look at what is happening. Yes, we can see a little bit of some positive strides. We may not, we're not going to rule out that they may not enact the access to information bill. But I think we have been hit left, right, and center from the times of MMD to time of PF, and now we are in UPND, and it's almost, we are getting to almost the same stories and of trying to say that no, this bill will be enacted, but at the end of it, we only have two years to go before the first term of UPND being in power. And if they don't do that in the next maybe for 24 months, we'll still have another story to tell. So I've misplaced the second part of your question, but I just wanted to give you a background. So in terms of wanting the bill to be enacted, like Chris Lubasi had mentioned, we need it like yesterday because that's been long overdue. We've been moving from point A to point B, point C, point D, then back to point A. We are not progressing in any way. So we need it like yesterday because it empowers, people. It empowers, civil society organizations to have access to information that people can have, can use to be able to make informed decisions. For example, the fight against corruption, like my colleague also reiterated what I said earlier, it can only be fought if there is access to information. Right now, we sorry to say this, but we're just listening to ZNBC News, and to some extent, some laws, especially the law that is it the Minister of Internal Security talked about. I think we've been talking about the cyber law and how it will infringe, also the issue of access to information. And it does infringe access to information in the sense that they will scare you. You cannot publish anything, especially for you journalists. You cannot publish anything that you think is what, because they will cite that law, and you can be arrested of some sort, or even intimidated. So at the moment, it's important that that law is enacted to make sure that people are free to access that information without due intimidation by those that want to hide information for their own benefit.
Thanks so much, Mr. Jere. The other part of the question was that whether at all this lack of information, that is the access to information law in place, does affect civil society organizations. Because there's generally, across the board, obviously, many people think that possibly access to information would only benefit the media. Does it in any way benefit civil society as well and the general public? I know you highlighted in just for the sake of clarity. Does this lack of access to information, or does it affect you as civil society organizations?
It does affect us very much because in the sense that, if we have access to information now, we have to know that access to information, like we mentioned in our preamble, is a human right, and it's also a social need. Okay, so it is a necessity, particularly in a democracy where every citizen has a role to play in the governance of the country. How do you expect me to be able to effectively contribute in the governance of the country if I don't have information about a particular issue, be it economic, social, or political? You get what I'm saying, huh? So there is no way I am expected to express myself effectively if I don't have information on a particular topic. And so it is just important that we have access to information, any other information, so that even as we talk from an informed point of view. We have got a lot of these issues that are, roaming around. That is why, we are being taken advantage of by, propagandists, because, propagandists take advantage of, secrecy in how you keep information. And then when they take advantage of that, they leak that information that you can be able to access, in a right way. Propagandists leak it, and then they twist it to their own benefit and then circulate it. And then when ordinary people like us who go to them, especially social media, read it, we think this is gospel truth. So we are being fed of wrong information because of not having, this access to information be enacted. People are able to, people only get crumbs of correct information. You get what I'm saying? And also, we cannot depend on, what government gives us every time. They give us what we want to hear. But it's possible if the access to information bill is given, is enacted, it's easier for us to be able to get rightful information and be able to challenge government with what we have heard about what they are doing. So it's very important that, as civil society organizations, especially as advocates, civil rights advocates, we need to have that so that we are able to debate with in an informed point of view.
Thanks so much, Mr. Jere. Mr. Lubasi, even as we are talking about the access to information bill being enacted into law, I'm tempted to look at the information seeking habits in our members, in our fellow citizens, in our respective wards, constituencies, and where we are. Are Zambians interested in this access to information law? Mr. Lubasi, did you get the question?
I'll look at it from two angles, and allow me before I even. Yes, I did say, are Zambians interested in the access to information, or how is it hear me?
Please go ahead.
Hello, Gabriel.
Yes, I'm getting you. Are you able
to hear me?
Yes. Please
go
ahead.
I was saying, yes, I'm able to get you loud and clear. Okay, great. I was saying, I was just going to add on to how access to information impacts us as civil society. We are in the business of complementing government's development, right? But then we are able to civil society is that we are unable to provide checks and balances or complement government efforts in areas where they have gaps if it's sent out as misinformation and disinformation. One example is the open secret about the universities that we had that were built on the northern part of Zambia. I mean southern province right now in Livingston. And we heard about universities that were constructed at colossal amounts of money. And pictures were out there by the propagandists, as Mr. Jere is saying, institutions established could offer the much needed just disinformation or at the end of the day. And because there is no law in Zambia that is available to take the role of the Cybersecurity Act to address such issues, people have been let to go scot-free. So it becomes very difficult for us, of course, as civil society, to really offer checks and balances and complement government efforts in that sense, in the absence of this particular law. There's so many times that we've gone to government offices to seek information on other developmental projects, and I assure you, Gabriel, it does get frustrating. And this could speak to why a lot of citizenry have opted not to engage with government. I mean, you know the common sayings in our communities where ukaenda kuja, you won't even get any type of help, you know, and people feel it's okay not to put a claim, because for sure they don't have any legal backing or legal grounds for which to put these claims, and neither are the public officials compelled. And to add salt to injury, I mean, some of our citizens are not that well informed or don't have some of this information that is trivial to a few. So once they are told in these government offices to say, I mean, you can't have this information, then they'll simply step back. But that is having negative consequences on the extent to which we as a country are developing. So in a way, I feel we as civil society have a role to educate our citizenry on the need for them to put a claim to their policymakers, their elected members of parliament, to ensure that this law is passed. I mean, it's been long overdue, and we are only owed that to ensure that the law is passed.
Thanks so much, Comrade. In case, dear audience, you have a contribution or question, please go ahead in our comment section. We have Lambwe Josephat Musonda, who says watching from DRC Congo. Keep it up. Your good work. Thank you. We appreciate. And then Weri Samson Mlea says watching from Roma. Thank you so much. Please keep the comments, and please also share the broadcast to as many people as you can in your audience, so that we can all receive the information after all. We are talking about access to information here. So if you are getting this content, please click on the share button, so that people in your audience, in your reach, can also have the same information that you are consuming. Mr. Jere, maybe it's a similar aspect also, but then given these difficult situations in the absence, and that is the absence of access to information, are you doing anything as civil society organizations to ensure that you as much as you can, maybe using your resources and others, to sort of educate people on what they need to know? And I'm singling out the Constituency Development Fund, because that is the current thing. And now we're talking about the NAPSA partial withdrawal, the 20%. That seems to be a bit problematic in terms of information consumption. Are you doing anything as civil society organization to ensure that you, as much as you can, inform the people from what you know on different issues around social accountability?
Okay. As an organization, what we've been trying to do is, I think we've kind of worked with different other organizations. For example, AAZ, I think we have worked with them the time that they came in here to, capacity build some of our members to be able to go in the communities to sensitize communities about, the CDF. And if I'm not mistaken, I wasn't a part of that workshop, but I think I got a report, is that what they are trying, they form some form of collisions, okay? Some form of collisions where, in every province, that will be able to help work around, giving out information to communities on the processes and how, communities can be able to access CDF. But also, what I know is they've tried by all means to simplify the you know, the process, the information on some leaflets with simple English, step by step on how to fill in up the application forms and the like. And I think they are also trying to put up, you know, some kind of you know, application forms online. They are trying to, you know, they've done some kind of a demo, and people can be able to, those that can be able to access you know, online application, although that has not been approved yet, but they are kind of trying to negotiate with you know, the ministry or responsible for, you know, local government to do that. But according to what I've been informed is that people can be able to even make applications online and submit online, and then you know, those forms can be gotten at a particular you know, council, whatever processes that are being used. It's easy for them to go through that and then approve. So that's one of the ways that I know my organization has been participating in that. But specifically on CDF, we have not done that. But on other issues, as pertaining to, you know, making sure that access to information becomes a law, is that we are also part of some you know, coalitions that, you know, are pushing for the action to access to information bill to be enacted. Then the issue of formation of coalitions, I know that probably Gabriel, your organization is also one of those organizations that is part of a coalition that is trying to rigorously advocate for the enactment of the access to information bill. Then we have attended and organized workshops to sensitize stakeholders, who include journalists, community leaders, you know, the youth and women, on the importance of government to enact the access to information bill. Yeah, so at that level, that is where we are trying to make sure that we become relevant.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jere. We have a bit of connectivity issues with Mr. Christopher Lubasi, but we do have Benny Wachama Nyundu. He's a youth. He joins us. Thank you so much, Ben, for joining us. You are welcome to this conversation. Ben, are you there? If you're speaking, please kindly unmute your microphone.
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, please. We are discussing the
right,
role of freedom of expression. So in your please tell us the ward that you belong to, and then also the question for you is that how easy is it for youths like yourself to sort of access information from the duty bearer or any public service provider?
All right. Thank you, Josias. What I would say, I belong to Livingstone constituency under Namatama ward. And what I would say concerning this is that in the first place, there is too much ignorance. I don't know if it's too much ignorance or lack of knowledge with us, the youths. Like most of our fellow youths, there is that they don't get much involved into things to do with governance and other things. So if there is any, then it is now that we have seen people getting interested into matters to do with government and the stuff. So what I would say, it's very difficult for fellow youths to access information. In the first place, like I earlier mentioned, that they don't know what information to access and what should they know. Because even some of the information concerning the CDF and stuff, some people are deprived. They don't know where to get the information. The information is not spread as it's supposed to be published. Say everyone has got an access, but yet it is moving as if like it's a connection. People people get these benefits of the CDF as if it's a connection. Like maybe you are connected to someone. Someone tells you, there is this and that and that. More especially, I would keep this maybe more especially in terms of education-wise. Many people have not been involved, like from my ward. Many youths are there learned, but they have not been involved in getting access to these bursaries that have been going around. Why? Because information is not given to them, and they are too reluctant. I don't know, they don't care because they're not informed, so to say. So what is very much important, like in our ward, is the sensitization part must be revived, or rather must be emphasized, so that people are aware of what is going on, and therefore they will seek information. Then the other part, speaking on those that are able to have the information, or that are able to have the clue of what is going on, it is difficult for them to acquire information because they don't know who to acquire the information from. I personally saw some rehabilitation that took place. There's like a bridge in our ward that is connecting us, the Namatama ward, with there's this ward which goes Bason area like that. There's like a bridge. There was some rehabilitation that took place, and I would hear some people say, no, they brought some constructors to come and do the construction there outside who are not in the ward. Yet we have a lot of constructors in the ward. They could complain and stuff, but I didn't pay much attention to it because I was very much busy at that moment. Though some information were not given, so we don't know how much it costed, and we don't know which fund. Is it the CDF? Is it the Constituent Development Fund, or is it the Ward Development Fund that worked there? We don't know. And how much was spent there, we don't know. But the only thing that we saw is that the bridge was rehabilitated, and that puts at my pose and greater my potholes. So information, where do I start from to go and access that information is the question. Most people don't know. So I think, like in our ward, sensitization is the most important thing that we should start first. People youth to be sensitized of what is going on and have the interest in the national affairs. I submit.
Thank you, Ben. Just a follow up, maybe, is that many of my youths when you look at arts youths, are we interested also to know? Do we have the interest of knowing what is happening in our wards? Like, for example, the other time I had a conversation with one of the councillors just within Livingston. The councillor was telling me, no, there are certain times where we call for ward meetings. You know, we would go around in the community informing people that there will be a ward meeting tomorrow, but then the attendance is so low, and eventually those people that attend those meetings, they are the ones who are eventually going to decide, for example, if it's community projects that are going to eventually be submitted to the CDF committee. Mr. Lubasi, I know you are there. Maybe the question I'm trying to ask is that, are there platforms where people can express themselves? And also, in addition to that, where do we strike the who is it to blame? When it comes to freedom of expression, there's an argument that platforms are there, but then the people that eventually are supposed to utilize those platforms in order that they express their right to freedom, their freedom of expression are not there. Do you, for example, as civil society organization, believe that these platforms are available, but people are not there to utilize them?
Gabriel, I would say we as civil society are doing quite a lot. There's still more that can be done, but I'll be honest with you. I did hear Mr. Jere speak about AAAZ. We did invite AAAZ last year in May 2022, and they facilitated at one of our meetings. It's a coalition called Fight Inequality Alliance that has over 52 members in Livingston, and these 52 members represent different wards within the constituency. And we went through the application process of the CDF in detail. We did sample different projects on how the community could be assisted to apply step by step. But I'll say one thing. You see, this notion that we've had, speaking from a person who's not from a capital city or a provincial capital, it's very difficult to sustain some of these initiatives that are generated from the capital. This whole centralized approach we have of initiatives is actually costing us. You can imagine from May 2022 last year to date, there hasn't been any follow-up from any of these parties that were invited to offer this capacity support and to follow up on the action points we raised as local CSOs. So there is a disconnect in how CSOs that are, or rather claim to work at national level, are collaborating with local CSOs. So some initiatives are started at national level in the I would say with a view of trying to have a national reach, but at the end of the day, the initiators fail to sustain their activities at local level. So that in a way impacts the capacity of local CSOs to carry on with some of these initiatives. So speaking to the issue of platforms, Gabriel, I think I did allude to this point during the World Press Freedom Day, to say it's very disheartening when you call for meetings, which we have as different civil society organizations working in Livingston, where just 3 weeks ago we were in the Vuyu. We called for a meeting to discuss issues around access to the CDF, issues around the cybersecurity bill on one of the projects we are implementing around digital rights. And we had community members coming in asking for refreshments, asking for transport reimbursements, to be given transport refund, to be given snacks for a 1.5 hour meeting, which was within their vicinity. And at the end of the day, people started walking out from that particular meeting. And it's not the only meeting where that has happened. We've had those meetings in a number of communities in Mukuni. We've had those in Dambo Site and Service. We've had those spread out in all the different communities through other partners, of course, not just Development 360. So why am I raising all these issues? We as civil society seek for funding. We get the funding that we intend to use to empower the citizenry. But at the end of the day, they are not available to attend these meetings. And then we are blamed as civil society to say we are only getting this money or requesting for funding to pocket for ourselves. But then at the end of the day, the community themselves are not even willing to seek this free knowledge we are offering to them. So in a way, I feel there is a lot of work we need to do as civil societies, local CSOs, national CSOs, international CSOs, to put up strategies that will try and bring about a mindset change. As long as that notion that has been strongly held and held for long in the minds of people that they need to be paid to get knowledge, we're not going to go anywhere. I'll rest my case. Just there. Right. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Benny. As I let you go, what is your reaction? Platforms are there. Sometimes people don't utilize the platforms in order that they can seek information. Is it the same case in Namatama Ward?
Yes, that is the case. That's why in my previous talking, I was just in line with what Mr. Christopher Lubasi was just saying, because you'd find that people are not aware. I would say sensitization, as he has mentioned, to say civil societies, we claim for funds to do the work, but yet we find out that our work is not effective. Our work doesn't become effective because we have not yet sensitized. The first step we must do is to make sure that the citizens understand their role, they understand their rights, they understand what they're supposed to do, then they understand what affects them. So if that understanding has been sensitized, then we will see people now flocking to such kind of meetings, because they will know that at that meeting they will benefit what is the reason and the cause of what is causing them to undergo a certain problem, or to not to have access to such information. So I feel sensitization must come first, even before as we talk about why are we not having such kind of things. I submit.
Thank you so much. I'm trying to have Mr. Jere back, but I think he's having a bit of challenges on joining us now. Mr. Lubasi also is having challenges. He's left us, but I hope that both of them could join us. We are just remaining with 6 minutes in order that we close the conversation. Benny, just in conclusion, what do you think can be done now in order that we can continuously continue the advocacy for the enactment of the Access to Information Law? What do you think should be done?
Okay, one of the things that I think should be done, like we have seen the ACA, we are doing the training, it should be in Choma, where they're training young youths on becoming their community information or other reporters, so to say. It's one of the ways, but what I think is the main thing that we should start with is sensitization first. If the CSOs or the civil society organizations would come up with projects or other programs of making sure that the society members, the youths, and even not only the youths, but the members of the society understand their roles in government. They understand what is affecting them and what is supposed to be done to them. Then we'll be able to solve this matter. And the transparency in that way will be boosted because people would want to know. There's no way you can ask on something that you don't know. I would keep it simply. You come at home, you know that you don't know if they cooked it or they bought a cake. Then you just come and say, couldn't have cake, but yet you are not given that information to say there was a cake. So you can only ask that there was a cake if you heard someone say, but when a cake, yeah, I'm sure maybe you are trying to understand what I'm trying to say. When then you are able to ask, okay, cake. So if people cannot understand to say there was a cake, that means do not ask, they will remain reluctant. And yet, if something bad happens, there will be the same people complaining. So I feel as the civil society organization, we must put much effort in sensitizing the people what is affecting them and what is their role and what affects them. Surely, I submit.
Thank you so much, Benny. Comrade Jere, what is your take in regards to what do you think should be done in order that the Access to Information bill is enacted into law? What do you think should be done in between?
So I think I earlier on mentioned, I think I was answering to something else, but I think I touched on how us as civil society organization can do in order to push. I don't know whether it's the right question, in order to push that government enacts the Access to Information bill. Is it the right question I'm answering?
Yes.
So I think I'll just repeat what I said. One is we need to, as civil society organization, we need to engage government through relevant ministries to lobby or to dialogue, to persuade them to honor their pledge, and make sure that we remind them that as part of their promises, political or election promises, they had pledged that they will enact the bill immediately they are voted in. So we have to constantly be reminding them. But you know, government does not react to lone voices. So the formation of coalitions, you know, where civil society organizations come together to form a coalition on access to information bill enactment. I know that there are some projects, I think, funded by like what I know is I've attended some trainings for, you know, even some sensitization activities on what access to information is and the like, and how you can advocate for whatever. Those are very important in terms of trying to make sure that we push government. Government only reacts when there are so many voices that have come together to push for a particular agenda. So formation of coalitions as civil societies, we have to speak as one and come together That is another thing. Then also sensitizing. It's good that we have what's his name? I can't see him again. The young man, the youth, one of the representatives as a youth from a ward in Livingstone.
Yes,
that was very important. Those are the people that we have to make sure that we begin to sensitize and, you know, give them information, tell them about the advantages of having access to information bill enacted. Immediately we do that, we are equipping them with information to be able to go and push their leaders in the communities, pressure their MPs to go into parliament and maybe put up a private put up some pressure in parliament, say no, that the bill be brought back to parliament and be enacted, something like that. So at different levels, we need to be able to, so as civil society organization, we need to be able to pressure at different levels, formation of coalitions, engaging governments bilaterally, but also, you know, sensitizing our communities about the importance of enacting their access to information bill. Like the young man had said before I logged out, you know, it's very clear that communities do not even understand why it is important to have access to information bill enacted, or why we should have, information from public offices is a right. You know, we are treated like, if I go to a public office to request for some information, I'm treated like it's a privilege for me for them to give me that information, when it is my right. You know, I have to demand for it. But, you know, they'll treat you, they'll throw you here, they'll throw you there, and the like, and treat you like you are a nobody. You get what I'm saying? Why do they do that? It's because, you know, there is no legal framework that is protecting me as a citizen to get that information. So it is very, very important that our communities are sensitized, you know, and they are able to know that, you know, this information is a right. You know, access to information is a right, and you know, we have to make sure that government is told that you know, whichever person that is holding on to some information, it is their responsibility to make sure that the citizens are able to, you know, access that information and be able to make informed decisions.
Thank you, Comrade Jere. Mr. Lubasi, thank you so much for joining again. We are concluding the discussion now, and we are looking at the way forward. What do you think should be done in order that the access to information bill is enacted into law?
So one of the things, Gabriel, I'll speak to is, I think I did allude to it earlier, the issue of stronger ties among civil society organizations and community-based organizations, activists, and all the other stakeholders that are involved in trying to move this agenda. In April, we were attending this year, we were attending the Open Governance Partnership that was organized by the Open Governance Partnership International, and that's through Panos, Internews, and a few other partners that are on the Open Space program in Lusaka. And one of the key, rather key remaining issues that will allow Zambia to become part of that foundation, which, the partnership itself, the Open Governance Partnership, is that we are lacking an access to information law as a country. So because of that, we are missing out on a lot of other opportunities to still be recognized as one of the most mature democracies in Africa. So there are so many advantages that would come to us as a country if we were to have the access to information law passed. Like Brian was saying, I think it's Ben from Namatama Ward.
Yes, Ben.
I mean, law. It would have been very easy for members of Namatama wards and surrounding wards to actually go to Livingstone City Council and put the council to task to provide information around the procurement processes that they went through, from the bidding to the tendering and all that process up to the offering of the contractors in the contractor who was offered to put up the bridge. So these are all issues that cannot be fulfilled when we don't have that law. So it's important for us as citizens, and especially we who are in the civil society, to ensure that we communicate this information about the importance of the access to information in a language that is understandable to those that have the most humblest of educational backgrounds in our communities. So I feel it's about time the law was passed in Zambia, because it will open up a lot of opportunities for individuals in communities, for communities at large, and for we as a country that has been holding the flag for being a democratic country. So this is an opportunity that we as a nation should ride upon. And the UPND as a party in power now has a chance to actually play all the cards right, because they have come on board at a time when all the other past governments did not want to implement the ATI. So I would implore those that are in power right now, our different lawmakers, to work together to ensure that this law is passed. As at 2022, last year, there were only 22 African countries who were said to have the access to information law. So it's important that we are included by the end of the year, and hopefully during the next sitting, our lawmakers will include that as a critical piece of legislation that needs to be enacted. Thanks, Gabriel.
We would have loved to continue, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your input. This is a discussion that I said we will have another episode next Friday, same time. We will have several other episodes in line with access to information. Today was the first. Thank you so much to Christopher Lubasi, Executive Director at Development 360. Ronnie Jere is President at Zambians for Unity, Peace and Development. I also had a youth from Namatama Ward in Livingston constituency, Ben Chamanyundu. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your contributions. And like I said, we would have loved to continue and talk the entire day and probably continue tomorrow, but obviously time is not on our part. But once again, thank you so much for your valuable contributions and presence also on this platform.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting us.
You're welcome. We look forward to inviting you once again, possibly when you can permit us, gentlemen.
You are very welcome to do that.
Anytime. I'm surprised that you are in Lusaka. You never said bye.
I'll be actually coming back tomorrow.
I was very sure you were here.
Okay, so Gabriel, safe trip as you're coming back. We can always reconnect, eh?
All right. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good night, gentlemen.
Thank you.
For those of us that were viewing, for those of us that were viewing and probably listening to this conversation, we are very happy to announce that this broadcast was brought to you by the Ask ATI Initiative under the USAID Open Spaces Zambia project. The USAID Open Spaces Zambia project is funded by USAID and implemented by Internews in partnership with FHI 360. I think you might have heard some of the discussants, if not all, having mentioned some of the partners that I have just highlighted. I think there are many partners, including these civil society organizations, ZUPED, which was represented by Mr. Ronnie Jere, and Development 360 as well, which was represented by the Executive Director, Mr. Christopher Lubasi. Thank you so much also to Chanda Chongo, technician of the day, and also ensures that everything that we were talking about here, or rather discussing, is packaged well. We were coming live on several platforms, the Alliance for Community Action, Facebook, YouTube, as well as Twitter account. We're live on Mukoni Village. We're live on Michael Zulu plus Chanda Bedley Chongo's Facebook account. Thank you so much. Next Friday, we'll be back. That is at 20 hours to somewhere around this time. And for now, we wish you a lovely night. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Let us make some infographics so that we can sell this meeting as it will be happening next week. At least we can share it with our friends and be aware.
Okay. All right, sir. No problem. Tizashita so.